Expo 2025 in Osaka has been under fire since its opening. Huge crowds, long lines, and pavilion reservations harder to win than the lottery. Even I was debating whether it was worth going. But I bought tickets and lodging months before the grand opening, so I didn't really have a choice. But don't you worry, it is not as bad as people are making out to seem. And for that, I am here to give you my realistic experience at Expo 2025, going in with 0 reservations. Just my phone, the ticket, and a little bit of desperation. To maximize my experience at Expo 2025, I made sure that my ticket entry into the park was at the opening time of 9 o'clock. I'm not really a morning person, so this was quite the struggle. Expo 2025 is basically on its own island, so no matter how close you stay to the expo, it is still a commute in. You can get to the expo by train or shuttle from various train stations. I chose to stay near Shin Osaka Station because at the time of the booking, I hadn't decided whether I was going to fly in or take the Shinkansen in. So staying in and shuttling to the expo from Shin Osaka Station was great because it was near the airport, as well as being one of the stops for the Shinkansen. Taking the shuttle ended up being the best choice I made for my whole group for multiple reasons. First off, for my group, I'm already chronically ill. People with me could walk, but we needed to definitely pace ourselves and take breaks. So this already preserved energy with a guaranteed seat for the 40-minute shuttle into the expo. Secondly, the East Gate is notoriously the super crowded gate because that is where all of the people constantly coming in on the train. However, the shuttles drop off at the West Gate, so it was a lot easier to get in when it was time to start entering the park. We went through a screening. It's pretty standard theme park or concert screening. You walk through a sensor and they let you know if you need extra padding down or not. And also there was an x-ray moment where you put your bags into an x-ray. A great thing about Japan, whether it be the domestic airport or places like this, they allow you to bring in drinks, whether it's like a pet bottle or like 2-liter bottle. They have this cool technology to scan and see whether your liquids have hazardous materials in them, and if they're clean, you're good to go in. I was really worried about how long this screening process was going to take, but since I was going in May, they had a lot of the kinks worked out of the system, so we were in like 15 minutes. I walked into this expo assuming the absolute worst. That's just how I am. I knew that there were same-day reservations, but with my luck, I wasn't expecting anything. So as soon as we made it into the gate, we booked it to the Pasona Life Pavilion. It's one of the domestic pavilions that I really wanted to see. We were so lucky that it was literally one of the first pavilions you could see when you entered through the West Gate, so win for me. Pasona Life is one of the very few domestic pavilions that you can enter without a reservation, and it was at the top of our priority list. So we were strutting like we meant it, freeing our minds all the way to the standby line. And it was only a 30-minute wait. Those 30 minutes would not feel long. I had a lot of work to do on my phone. Once 10 minutes pass after entering the expo, that is when you're able to start booking same-day pavilion reservations. If you've ever done Disney Premier Access at the Tokyo Disney Resort, it is very, very similar, except everything's free. You go onto your Expo account, look at where your tickets are, it'll have this banner saying that you're able to start making same-day reservations, and then you're able to see a list of all the pavilions that you can make a reservation, whether they're fully booked up or not. Listen to me. Do not waste your time trying to put in a keyword in the search or filter. Just hit the little search bar without putting anything in because it doesn't work. It really doesn't. Quickly scroll through every single option and keep an eye out for which pavilions have a triangle or a circle, because those are the ones with either limited tickets available or a lot of tickets. Mentally kind of mark the order of priority for what you want to book. Try to book a reservation in the order of your priority. I say try, just because a triangle is showing up giving you the hope that, oh, I can actually book this reservation. Half the time you click on it and they go, oh, actually, we don't have enough for your party. So sorry. And you think, oh, maybe someone booked ahead, and then you refresh the page and it stays like that all day, and it's there to mess with your mind. So go through that order, secure your first reservation. On the day I entered the park, there was so much to choose from. Just do your best to get anything. I really wanted to get reservations to the Osaka Healthcare Pavilion, but I had no luck. That pavilion had a giant X on it, but I was lucky enough to get reservations for the Future of Life Pavilion. With reservations in hand, a sigh of relief, it was finally time to enter the Pasona Life Pavilion. In collaboration with one of the world's most famous animes, Astro Boy, this pavilion is a thank you to life itself. We start with a large tree of life filled with pieces from the past, present, and future to represent the evolution of life. In one of Astro Boy's great battles, he sacrifices himself to save the Earth. The character Blackjack finds Astro Boy and saves him with the technology of the future, IPS cells. IPS cells are the newest technology for heart restoration, and these cells are not fiction. We got to see them with our own eyes and beating in person. With Astro Boy being reborn years later, he discovers the future of technology, and he's now sharing it with us. We got to see some amazing things, like tech that can remotely control an emergency operation, and even beds that monitor your vitals to create the perfect night's sleep. If you're lucky enough to win the reservation lottery, you can apply to experience this bed yourself. If you've ever asked your partner, would you still love me if I was a worm? Now you can experience what it's like to be said worm. And every 20 minutes, the centerpiece of this room comes to life for a beautiful show to remind us to have gratitude, harmonize, and protect the environment that we are so privileged to have. After that amazing experience, it was time to kill about an hour until our next reservation. Fortunately for us, on the way to the Future of Life Pavilion, we were passing through the Commons. This is where there are about 3 convention center type buildings where you can see a huge variety of countries in one go. And I loved getting to experience the different cultures of so many different places around the world. Then it was finally time for the Future of Life Pavilion. I can't lie, I am a huge fan of Matsuko Deluxe, so I came in super excited for her android, but I left that pavilion in tears, which I was not expecting. Trigger warning for themes of death and grief. The Future of Life Pavilion was designed by Hiroshi Ishiguro, and this was the most impactful pavilion that I went to this trip. We get to see what life is like 50 years in the future, and also 1,000 years in the future. First, we experienced what it's like for humans to coexist with androids, and how that technology might enhance our lives in a way that feels closer than further away. We followed the story of a grandmother and her grandchild. First, we see the androids living amongst the humans on the train and through very common points in our lives. Through this technology, the grandma is notified when she does not have that much time left to live. She has to make a decision on what will happen after she passes. Pass traditionally, or preserve her memories and personality into an android to live on forever. The grandmother wants to pass traditionally, but this is very heartbreaking for the granddaughter. She's seen other families in the community have their family members live on with them as androids, and she's heartbroken for the grief that she's going to experience. It is such a complex question that applies to everyone. Even if they retain your personality memories, is complicated because it's not really natural. It's still not technically them. It's very much a Black Mirror type of question, you know? We see the grandmother make her final decision, and it left everyone in the room in tears. I'm not even describing everything in full detail. You really have to experience this yourself to feel the emotion that comes with it. If you're looking for something lighthearted, I do not recommend this place, but if you do go, you will be moved. The pavilion ends in an artistic interpretation of life in 1,000 years, where humans have used technology to go beyond the physical capabilities of our bodies. The robots are so impressive. They move and look at you and blink just like humans. It is wild. I have to complain. The food was so expensive. Almost every place had food starting at like 1,500 yen if you're lucky, more like 2,000 yen and up. I know if you're coming from abroad, you're like, oh, that's a great deal. That's way cheaper than any entree I'd have. But if you're someone who lives and works in the Japanese yen, that is steep. So if you're trying not to spend too much money on food and you don't really have any allergy restrictions like gluten-free, I would definitely recommend going to the food court. I went to the gluten-free ramen restaurant. Unfortunately, as of when I went there in May, they did not have their stuff together. I don't know if this is how the queue is gonna work at the other restaurants, but this one made literally no sense. Every time they told me a different explanation when I asked about it. So we get a virtual queue. On your phone, it shows you how many people are ahead of you until it's your turn. And they said to come up when there's about 1 or 2 people ahead of you. So I go up there when it's one party ahead of me. Then they tell me, actually, no, you can't come up here until it's a 0. And I was like, okay, no problem. Show them, okay, I am next. I'm ready to go. And then they say, okay, great. Get in this line. I've used that queue reservation system that was being used by this company many times in Tokyo. I've never been told you're next and then put in a line and then waiting an additional like 10-15 minutes to be seated. I don't know. I wish they had like a piece of paper next to the queue reservation system explaining the process, because unfortunately I didn't understand what was going on, and I don't know if the staff really did either. That all being said, the food was fire and you should get it even if you're not gluten-free. The next reservation I had was for the Japan Pavilion. I don't know how I did this. Part of me feels like it was an error, but like I'm gonna take accountability and say that I just messed up in punching in everything. My Japan reservation that was supposed to be for 3 people ended up only being for 1 person. And if you know anything about Japan, you know that they do not budge on those rules. So only 1 person from our group got to experience that pavilion, and I just let someone else do it. While waiting for that person to finish enjoying the Japan Pavilion experience, I ended up checking out the Women's Pavilion, which is really close by. Before you enter the experience, you record yourself saying your name into a microphone. You're first introduced to 3 different women. They tell you a little bit about their life story. Then everyone is randomly divided into groups of 3. You listen for your name called by one of the 3 women and follow their path. I got to follow the story of an author, and I got to see the story of her upbringing, struggles she had, and the love she got to experience in the world. After that, everyone is reunited in a very serene room for reflection. Then we enter a room that highlights incredible women from around the world and women's statistics, as finally we get to quote-unquote meet these amazing women that are highlighted from the previous room. By placing your hand where each woman is, you get to hear their voices speak to you. It was a very beautiful experience. Once our party was back together, at this point the reservation system was pretty much dead. Everything had been filled up, so it was going to be all standby from this point on. So that's when we started focusing on seeing the different country pavilions, because we knew that a lot of them would have short standby or no line at all. And we covered a lot. The Vietnam pavilion was so beautiful. The Philippines pavilion, oh my god, I loved it. It had such a beautiful pre-show and such beautiful handmade artwork. The staff was so friendly. Everyone was saying mabuhay, and I was like, mabuhay. Then we checked out the flying cars, which are more like drone combined helicopters. Expo was really heavy on advertising that they were going to be able to showcase the flying cars actually flying, but I heard that the flying car kind of broke, so they had to stop doing that. Then it was time for the night show. We'd heard great things about this show, so we were very excited to go. And I hate to say it, but it was a shock in a very bad way. I'm really hoping that this was just an error for my specific show. But for the first like 5 to 6 minutes, there was audio playing. You could hear it faintly in the distance, but you could not hear what was going on. Then finally, after like 5 to 7 minutes, boom, the music is finally loud enough for us to hear. So we watched about 10 minutes total of the show and watched the beautiful water. But after that, I feel like we'd seen what we needed to see. Wanted to kind of beat the crowds that were there watching the show and get a head start on heading back to Osaka. Leaving the park, if you're going out of the East Gate, I need to warn you, the way the traffic is flowing, you're gonna think, I gotta go this direction everyone is walking in. But that is a trap. That route everyone's walking will make you loop around the entire queue area from the daytime and loop like a whole circle to get to the train station. And I thought, oh, they're doing this for a safety reason. You can't get in from the side of the train station that's literally like right by the exit. Nope, you could. People were coming in from that way. There was nothing blocking you from going that way. We were just tricked by that flow of people. Do not make that mistake. After this experience at the expo on what I would consider a normal day, here is what I recommend. First, arrive early if you can. I think that was one of the biggest factors for me being able to secure reservations to things that I really wanted to see on the same day. I got there like, I think 20-30 minutes early. When doing anything with the expo, whether it's displaying your tickets or getting reservations, do not bother with the Expo 2025 app. All that does is redirect you to your browser. So there was really no point. An app you should have is the Expo 2025 Personal Agent. This is really handy specifically for navigation. It is really hard to find a physical map at the Expo. You can see a blue dot of where you are on a map of the entire Expo park. But if you need directions to a specific pavilion, you can use popular GPS apps like Apple Maps and Google Maps, just like you would in the real world. Unless there is a country's pavilion you are dying to see, I recommend saving your reservations for domestic pavilions. A lot of country pavilions, you can show up without a reservation, whether the app says you can or not. Just show up and see. However, the domestic ones are really popular, so those you really do need a reservation for the most part, and they aren't ones to miss. Remember to stay flexible. You are not going to get to see every pavilion on your list. Like I said, the healthcare pavilion was one of my top priorities. I was ranking it like number 1 or number 2 on my lottery reservation applications. However, I was so blown away by the Future of Life Pavilion that I got the reservation for instead. And honestly, I am so glad it worked out the way it did. All in all, do not let the internet scare you into thinking Expo 2025 will be impossible without pavilion reservations ahead of time. You just need a friend that's good on the phone, some patience, and an open mind. Let me know in the comments if you've been to Expo 2025 or if you're planning on going before it closes in October. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know where you want to see me go next. Bye!